Hi guys, this is Samantha Burton here, and I'm just going to do a quick screencast of the PowerPoint that I presented last night at our meeting about China. I'm going to go pretty quick through it and not spend as much detail, but feel free to email me at samantha.burton@canyonsdistrict.org with any questions or concerns, or you can also call me at 801-390-7995, and I will gladly answer any questions that you have. But let's just go ahead and get in. Some of the things that I'm going to be talking about throughout this presentation is about our adventure that awaits us. But I'm going to mostly base it off of why I choose to travel, why I want to take students with me, and what's included for this trip if you decide to send your child with us, and then also how to reserve your spot and start preparing for the trip. So, why I travel? When I was really young, I was bit by the travel bug and really um, didn't have the money. I didn't grow up very rich, and so my family was really poor, and we didn't get to travel. And as I did this, because I wasn't able to travel, I grew up kind of always dreaming these lofty goals and these lofty dreams. And by the time I was 16, I decided that I was going to actually make those goals happen. And so I started to scrimp and save and earn as much money as I could to travel. And I just traveled around the United States, and it wasn't until a couple years ago that I started to leave the country. About 4 years ago, when I started working as a teacher in Canyon School District, I met a teacher, Miss Muir. You'll see her down here in this picture. Um, she worked for a travel company called People to People. And I listened to her stories and I finally said, how do I get involved in such an amazing program? How do I get to travel with students and continue my goals and my aspirations to travel? And so she told me about it, and I spent a year working with Miss Muir and People to People and learning from Miss Muir, who had traveled about 5 years prior, and got to learn from her. And throughout that learning, unfortunately, I didn't get to travel because we didn't have enough students, but I learned from the best, and I was able to walk away with that and apply it to my next year, where I actually got to take students with me. Um, this trip to China will take place in June of 2018, and it will be my fourth year with EF, my third trip with students. But one of the things that I absolutely love is the ability to go and learn from other cultures and different perspectives and apply them into my own life and change my world around me and benefit from different perspectives in life. These are just some of my pictures from all of my travels. This is my group from last year. In fact, all of these are pictures from my last year. We went to Portugal, Spain, and France. And this is my small little group that we went with. And this is our tour director, Alexandra. And this is us in Spain and us in nope, this is actually, I think, France, if I remember right. But it was a lot of fun, and I learned a lot throughout this trip, and I apply each year to my students' trips to kind of better them. Kaylee Hayter is a sixth grade English teacher at Draper Park Middle School who will be traveling with me. She is getting a group of her own students to travel, and she's been all over the world. She kind of has a different bucket list, and she wants to visit every continent. You'll notice that Asia is not yet been met for her, and so she's excited to come to China with me. This is Mandy Kitchen. She is a special education teacher here at Draper Park Middle School, and she will be pulled on as a chaperone if we have more students traveling. EF does a 6-to-1 ratio, so if for every 6 students or every 6 travelers, there's one teacher that travels. And so if she gets to come, that's a little bit about her. I'm not going to play this video. I am attaching the link to this PowerPoint as well if you would like to watch this. This is Alex. He's one of my students who traveled with me last year, and he was kind of a punk before we left, and he came back as a different kid, very matured, very understanding. He was one of those students who, prior to going, was so excited to eat authentic tacos, and he was kind of crushed when we had to explain to him that Spain was not known for tacos, and that was not Spanish food, nor was it actually technically Mexican food. But he learned a lot and he grew. And I can sit and tell you all day long why I enjoy traveling, but hearing from the students' perspective and what they learn speaks volumes of why I continue to do this and continue to support students in traveling throughout the countries that we go to. And Alex is a great representation of why I do this. So please feel free to look at the PowerPoint and watch his video. This trip to China will be going from ancient China to modern China. It's a 14-day trip. We will overnight flight to China, and we'll spend a couple nights in Beijing. And I need to learn how to say these words, but I think it's Xi'an. And we'll spend a couple nights in Xi'an and Guilin and Yangzhou. And then we'll spend 3 nights in Shanghai, and we'll fly over to Hong Kong and spend a couple nights in Hong Kong as well. Some of the things on our trip that we'll get to see are the Summer Palace, we'll get a tour of the Great Wall, we'll get to go to the Terracotta Warrior Museum, visit the Forbidden City, go to the West Street in Yangzhou Guilin, have a authentic tea ceremony and an authentic Peking duck dinner, and we'll even get to take a bike ride on the ancient city wall. We will have a free time in Xi'an and get to see Shanghai World Famous Center, Financial Center, go to the Temple of Heaven Park, go to take a peak tram in Hong Kong, do a Lei River bamboo raft, and even go to Aberdeen and have a dim sum tasting, which is really fun. All of these, as you're looking at the itinerary on the website, anything that says extension, those are already included into the price that you will see, like the Tang Dynasty show and dinner, the dim sum tasting, Hong Kong. Those are all extensions. I'm a firm believer in any trip that I plan. Anytime they offer a cultural extension, I automatically add those into the price, and they're not optional. That's what we do as my group, because I'm going there to experience cultural experiences and do things that way. And so I want to experience as much as I can, and I would rather pay for it prior and have it taken care of. And so those are already included. One of the things that I love is that our students become global citizens, and it brings the subject and destination to life. I chose China because at Draper Park we have the dual Chinese immersion program. And I thought, what a cool opportunity for those kids who study the China culture to go there and actually have it come to life. Now, this is not just for the Chinese immersion students, it's for any student. As you're in your history classes and your English classes and you read articles and stories about these different locations, it's really amazing to watch them come to life and to actually experience them firsthand. And that makes us better citizens of our own area and makes our world a better place when we understand other people's perspectives and bring it to a higher level. Why do I choose EF? I told you that I worked for People prior, People to People closed, and I searched for a long time for another company that I could work with that would do what I wanted. And EF is one that I stumbled upon. And I chose EF because of several reasons. Number one, it has over 50 years of experience. Anything that can go wrong, they've kind of experienced it. Anything that can go right, they've experienced it. They have a global and local presence. Over 500 schools and offices in over 53 countries. I have never felt more safe traveling than I have working with EF. I've traveled with them several times, gone to many different cities, and I've always felt exceptionally safe because of the resources they provide to us. In most cities that we travel to, EF has a building with workers that if there was something to happen, they're immediately there to help us. On this particular trip, Beijing and Shanghai have their offices. Their commitment to safety, as I was talking about, we have on our trip with us a 24/7 tour director. This tour director meets us at the airport. They stay at the hotels with us. They take us around the cities. They, at night, when I put the kids to bed and I do bed checks, the tour director and I will go down into the lobby and discuss the day and what went well and how can we make tomorrow better. And this tour director is from the area of where we're traveling. They speak all of the languages that we will need. They know the area very well. They know the safety precautions to take. And that's why I feel very confident traveling with EF. We also have many chaperones. Like I said, it is a 6-to-1. We have a 24-hour emergency on-call service that is just a phone call away for you as parents and for us as leaders. The peace of mind policy is part of the price, and we'll talk about that, I think, on the next slide. And then my approach to safety. I'm a firm believer that, students learn before we actually travel. So prior to our trip, 6 months prior, I hold information meetings where students come and we talk about safety and how to maneuver through the streets. And if we're in large crowds, what do we do with our bags and just different things and help them get there where they need. I also pay for an international plan, and I have my cell phone with me the entire time just in case something was to happen. In all the time that I've traveled with students, I've been very fortunate, knock on wood, that I've never had any safety concerns with my students. And I've traveled to Madrid and I've traveled to Portugal, all over Portugal, all over the French Riviera and the lower part, the coastal part of Spain, Barcelona, Granada, etc. And I've never had any problems. Why travel in groups? Well, it makes it a little bit more affordable. And the way EF works is I, as a teacher, get to choose where I travel to, and I get to choose the date we leave. I looked at the school schedule, and based off when school ended in June of 2018 and kind of where I could fit life into, I requested the date that I leave on June 13th, 2018. EF cannot guarantee me the date that I left, and so they give me a small window. I can travel 4 days before or 4 days after, which means with the group to China, the earliest we would leave would be June 9th, 2018, and the latest we would leave would be June 17th, 2018. We won't know the exact days we're leaving until about 6 months prior to our trip. And then that with a window, that would depend on our return date as well. We could return as early as June 22nd or as late as June 30th of the year 2018. Global Travel Protection Plan, I told you, is included in your price. This is going to cover any tour cancellations and interruptions. It's also going to cover any illness or accidents that possibly could happen on the trip, which is really awesome that they work with us that way. Baggage and property, if by chance the airport lost our baggage, they will help compensate for so much. Any flight delays, and then we also have a 24-hour access to an English-speaking representative for any problems that arise. Students have the opportunity to use WeShare. It's a program that students get high school credit, high school or college credit. It's part of the price. I've never had a student actually do it, but this tells you what you would have to do before, on, and after the trip in order to get that credit. So we've talked about why travel, but what are you responsible for if you decide to travel? Well, of course, you're spending money. Any souvenirs, any extra little things that you would want to do, you're responsible for that. You will also be responsible for lunch and snacks and beverages. We do not do lunch daily. We do provide breakfast and dinner daily, but we don't do lunch because that's actually our free time for the day. Sometimes we get an hour, sometimes 2, sometimes 3, it just depends. But this particular trip, we don't do lunch because students get that free time to go and explore. And some want to be very authentic and go to, a place that, like in Portugal, some of my students went and they tried snails for the first time. But others are very hesitant, and so they went to McDonald's and they went with what they're familiar with. And so that's just an opportunity for students to kind of get the free time of their choice. Also, additional tour experiences. We actually will not know until we get to China. During our free time, our tour director sometimes has ideas in mind of things instead of just walking around shopping. If there's things you want to do, they provide additional activities and experiences, and those cost extra money. So we always say plan on $30 to $65 a day, depending on your budget and what you would want to spend. We also, additional on top of the price. We also ask for tip money for our tour director and our bus driver, and we average about $10 a day, and then I divide it up as the leader of the group and hand that to them at the end of the trip. Any airport baggage fees, and then also your passport and visa. Passports, you have to have a valid passport, and it might take up to 14 weeks to process, so make sure that you get it done. Passports must be valid for at least 6 months after our return date. And we've run into some situations, and so they require 6 months after our return date. There is an additional price of a visa for this trip. China does require a double entry, and we will apply for our visas 70 days before departure. And I looked it up last night, and it's about $140. And then if you're a non-US citizen, it might cost you a little bit extra. Everything that you do get in with the trip is right here. And what I love is the entrance fees to all the attractions are included, which helps when we get there. When I was in Spain, one of the lines was 3 hours long, but because we pay prior, we get to just walk in, which is awesome.